Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today is my latest installment in my deep dive into the 2024 presidential election series. This video focuses on the state of New Hampshire. New Hampshire, a very interesting state that for a long time was seen as one of the more close battlegrounds in the entire country at the presidential level. In 2020, it's more of a likely Democratic state. What it means for 2024, we're going to have to watch this video and find out. Looking at the presidential voting history in New Hampshire, in 2020, Joe Biden won the state by 7.4%. In 2016, Hillary Clinton won it by just 0.37%. So very close, very close in 2016. And in 2012, Barack Obama won it by 5.6%. Right now, the current polling average in the state of New Hampshire, Kamala Harris is 50.3%, Donald Trump has 44%. So right now, it's looking more like it's going to be somewhere between what 2012 and 2020 was in terms of margin of victory, but it does seem that Harris has a lead in the Granite State right now. As for the national vote in the last three elections, in 2020, Joe Biden won the popular vote by 4.4%. 2016, Hillary Clinton won it by 2.1%. And in 2012, Barack Obama won it by 3.9%, an average across the three elections of 3.5 percentage points. Right now, as of today, the day I'm recording the video, the head-to-head matchup between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris is currently tied at the national level. In the national head-to-head, that would mean the popular vote is tied. This is an incredibly close election, and you have to think that if the popular vote is tied, that would be a good sign for Donald Trump, seeing as the Democrat has won the popular vote in each of the last three elections, and in 2016, Hillary Clinton won the popular vote and still lost. So the fact that it's a tied race right now nationally should, if everything else is the same, be a good sign for Trump. However, we're going to have to wait and see on election day until how that goes, but I just want to point that out. That is certainly very interesting. In 2020, New Hampshire voted 3% more Democratic than the popular vote of the United States. In 2016, New Hampshire voted 1.73% more Democratic than the popular vote of the United States. And in 2012, New Hampshire voted 1.7% more Democratic than the popular vote of the United States. That is an average across the last three elections from 2012 to 2020 of Democrat plus 1% in the state of New Hampshire. That is worth noting because if that does carry over once again, where it's only Democrat plus 1 as the average, Kamala Harris would only win the state of New Hampshire by 1%. If she wins the state by the same margin in 2020, where it's Democrat plus 3, that would show that it would only be a 3% victory for Kamala Harris in New Hampshire. So it's very interesting. We're going to find out in 2024 if this national vote to New Hampshire vote comparison is going to be indicative of the final results or not, because if it is, it's going to be a lot closer of an election in New Hampshire than many of the polls and other factors have expected. So that'll be an interesting one to watch. Between 2016 and 2020, New Hampshire voted about 0.64% more Democratic than the popular vote, so even narrower than it is in the 3-year span. Looking at some presidential forecasts in the state of New Hampshire, Real Clear Politics was lean for Harris, Sidewalk Crystal Ball and 538 were likely for Harris, Decision Desk HQ and The Hill were lean for Harris, and Cook Political Report was likely for Harris. So it certainly is seeming like New Hampshire is going to be somewhere between a lean to likely margin for Kamala Harris. The question is going to be where. As for some polling averages, right now Real Clear Politics has Harris up in the state by 6.3%. Silver's Bulletin has it 6.1%. 270 to win has Harris plus 9. Decision Desk HQ in The Hill has Harris plus 2. And 538 has Harris plus 6.8. So there seems to be a lot of consensus around that 6% or more, which is going to be falling under the likely Harris column, the likely Democratic column. But that's going to be something to watch for as well going into Election Day. Looking at some key counties I'm watching for in the state of New Hampshire, the first one is going to be Hillsborough County. This is where the cities of Manchester and Nashua are. This is the largest population county in the state, and it also happens to be a very competitive county that is capable of being won by either party. So that is certainly also a bonus for why it's a very key county I'm watching for. In 2020, Joe Biden won it by 7.7%. In 2016, Donald Trump won it by 0.2%. And in 2012, Barack Obama won it by 1.1%. And a very interesting thing, I'm not sure if it's a trend or not, but I noticed Hillsborough's Democratic and Republican vote percentages are very eerily similar to what the final result of the state was in 2020 and 2016. You'll see what I mean when I show you that on the counties map slide, but it's something very interesting to watch. Rockingham County, which is right next to the east of Hillsborough County. This is the second largest county in the state. This is also a county that's very, very close. It has voted Republican in the past, but did vote for Joe Biden by 2.1% in 2020. Rockingham and Hillsborough, I think, are two counties that are very important to watch on Election Day that will give us a very clear insight as to how Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are performing in the state of New Hampshire. If Hillsborough County and Rockingham County are both going Republican, that's a sign Donald Trump is way outperforming what the polls have him at, and he could potentially win the state. If Donald Trump is winning Rockingham County but losing Hillsborough County, that probably means Harris is still going to win, but Trump is outperforming his 2020 margins. If Trump is losing both Hillsborough County and Rockingham County, then he's probably running about on par with what he did in 2020, and Harris is looking at somewhere between like an 8 to like 12% victory in the state, depending on how far she's doing in the rest of the state, whether she's improving or disapproving in other areas. So those are two very important counties to watch. Rockingham was 2.1 for Biden in 2020, 5.8 for Trump in 2016, and then 4.6 for Romney, in 2012. Merrimack County is next. This is home to the city of Concord, the capital city in New Hampshire. And in 2012, it was won by Obama by 12.7%. 2016, Clinton only won the state by 3%, or the county by 3%. And 2020, it was won by Biden by 9.8%. Again, watching the margins in this county, if it's a lean county, that's very good news for Trump. If it's a likely to solid county, very good news for Harris. We're watching to see what the numbers end up being there. Stratford County, the fourth largest county in the state. This is going to be home to the cities of Portsmouth, Dover, and Rochester in that area. Definitely a lot of people in there. Not as much as Hillsborough or Rockingham or Merrimack, but still a decent number of people living in this county. This is going to be a borderline likely to solid county for Kamala Harris on election night. Not expecting too much Republican votes to come out of this area. It was a 15.3% win in 2020 for Joe Biden, 8.4% for Hillary Clinton in 2016, and 14.5% for Barack Obama in 2012. And lastly, Grafton County. This is a very Democratic county in the state. I believe one of the biggest Democratic counties in the entire state. This is where I believe Dartmouth University or Dartmouth College is. And this is also where another college, I believe Plymouth State, is located. So there's a lot of Democratic votes in this area. It will be a big Democratic win. It's going to be over 15% as well. So that will be a safe Democratic county. It was over 24.5% in 2020 for Joe Biden, 18.5% over in 2016 for Clinton, and 23.7% in 2012 for Obama. Looking at the counties map for the state of New Hampshire, in 2020, Joe Biden won statewide with 52.7%. Donald Trump came in second with 45.4%. And in Grafton County right here, leading up towards the mountains and the lakes region and such, this was 61.5 to 36.9, a win for Joe Biden. Merrimack County right here, 54 to 44.2, a win for Joe Biden. Rockingham County, this is on the Massachusetts border right here, 50.3 to 48.2, a very close win for Joe Biden. Hillsborough County, 53 to 45.3, a win for Joe Biden. And Stratford County right here on the border of Maine, this is 57 to 41.4. So yeah, just one more thing I wanted to mention that I mentioned earlier. Hillsborough County voted 53 to 45.3 in 2020, and Joe Biden won with 52.7, and Trump got 45.4. So on the Republican side, it was only off by 0.1% from the actual statewide result, and on the Democratic side, it was only off by 0.3%. So I just thought that was very interesting. Like, there's instances of counties voting similar to how their state votes, and Hillsborough, I mean, it is the most populous county in the entire state, so that could be something, but it's not like it's over half the state or something. I think it's something like mid 20% or 30% of the state is in that county. So it's very, very interesting, but this didn't just happen in 2020 also. Looking now at 2016, went the wrong way. Looking now at 2016, Hillary Clinton got 46.8% of the statewide vote. Donald Trump got 46.5%. Hillsborough County was won by Trump, but 46.7% for Trump, and Clinton got 46.5%. So it was only off 0.3% on the Democratic side and 0.2% on the Republican side. That is, again, very, very close, and that's something very interesting. So that's why I'm saying on election night 2024, maybe you should keep an eye on Hillsborough County, because if, say, Kamala Harris is winning this county by like 5% or something, she might be winning the statewide vote by at least 5%. That's certainly possible. Or if Trump is winning this county, maybe Trump is within striking distance of winning the state. That's just something very interesting that I wanted to point out. But yeah, Clinton got 46.8% of the statewide vote. Trump got 46.5%. Very, very close race. Grafton County was 55.7 to 37.1. Merrimack was 48.1 to 45. And Rockingham County, 49.9 to 44.1. Hillsborough, 46.7 to 46.5. And Stratford, 50.6 to 42.1. Now looking at 2012, where Obama got 52% of the statewide vote, Romney got 46.4%, Grafton County got 60.9%, and Romney got 37.2%. Merrimack County, 55.6% to 42.9%, Obama won there. Rockingham was 51.6% to 47% for Romney. Hillsborough, 49.7% to 48.6%, a win for Obama. And Stratford, 56.3% to 41.8%, a win for Obama. Looking now at the party percentages across the last three elections, in 2020, Joe Biden got 52.7%, 2016, Hillary Clinton got 46.8%, and in 2012, Barack Obama got 52%. That would be an average vote across the last three elections of 50.5%. And I used these numbers to conduct a range for 2024, taking the highest total of 52.7 minus the lowest total of 46.8. That got a difference of 5.9. I then took 5.9 and added it to the high end and low end and got our range for 2024, which found that Kamala Harris at the worst would get 40.9%, the highest 58.6%, and we expect that she'll get somewhere between those two numbers on election night for sure. The question is where among that number will that be? It's more likely than not that Harris is definitely going to be somewhere probably between, my guess is around 50 to 53% or so. It is possible that if she is really doing bad nationwide, that potentially she could have a similar showing to Hillary Clinton where she only got 46.8% of the vote statewide. But if she is doing that poorly in New Hampshire and Donald Trump is doing that well, that could be a sign that Harris is in for a very rough night all across the country. I think it's more likely than not that in New Hampshire, given her 6% polling lead right now, she's probably somewhere between 50 to 53% of the vote. On the Republican side, in 2020, Donald Trump got 45.4% in the state of New Hampshire. In 2016, Trump got 46.5%. And in 2012, Mitt Romney got 46.4%, which is an average across the last three elections of 46.1%. And the Republican side is very, very interesting because it actually hasn't been too much of a difference. Trump had both the highest and lowest totals of a Republican in the last three elections. Not surprising since he's been on the ballot for 2 out of the 3 elections, but still it's interesting. 46.5 minus 45.4 is only a margin of 1.1. So when you add and subtract to the high end and low end of the totals, that gets a 2024 estimated range of 44.3% and a high of 47.6%. So unlike Harris, who has about an 18-point margin when it comes to the range of going up or down, Trump really only has about a 3 to 3.5% range of where the wiggle room is for him on election night based on the last 3 elections. So it makes it a little bit more difficult for Trump to be able to win the state of New Hampshire that on the high end, based on the last 3 elections, he would only be getting 47.6%. Now, it is worth noting if he got 47.6% in 2016, he would have been able to win the state because Kamala Harris only got 46.8%. So in a vacuum, that is possible. But it's not all too likely that in an election where it's been very polarized the last few years, especially 2020 was, for Trump to get 47.6 and win the state, Kamala would probably be getting around 47, maybe a little bit more, and that would be about 5 to 6% third-party vote, which I don't think for 2024 is going to happen. 2016 had a lot more, I think some of the largest third-party vote we've seen since the 2000 election. I'm not so sure we're going to see that in 2024. I think it's more likely we're getting somewhere between 1 to 2% third-party vote in 2024. So at 47.6, yes, it is technically possible for Trump to win the state of New Hampshire, but I don't think is the most likely outcome. And I think Trump is going to do somewhere between where he did in 2016 at 46.5 and 2020 at 45.4. Because for some reason, Trump does very well in a number of the swing states and like potentially swing states. But for some reason, New Hampshire is just really not one of them. Trump hasn't broken 47% in 2016 or 2020. And the polls so far have not shown that he's going to do that in 2024. So I think Trump getting around that 46% margin is probably where he's going to end up on election day in New Hampshire. So for the state of New Hampshire and its 4 electoral votes, I'm predicting that Kamala Harris will win the state of New Hampshire, and I think she'll get 52.4%. Donald Trump will get about 46.1%, right, pretty much in line with what his average has been across the last 3 elections, and that would be a margin of victory of about 6.3%, which is pretty much right in line with what we've seen with the polling data thus far. I think there are some swing states that are probably going to be a little bit off from what the polling data is. I don't think New Hampshire is going to be one of those states. I think it's going to be pretty similar to what it is, and it's moved a little bit to the Democratic direction in the last few years, especially at the Senate level and congressional level, and I think also the presidential level as well, really since 2016. And I think a 6.3% margin of victory for Harris, it's better for Trump than it was in 2020, but I'm just not super confident that Trump is putting as much of a ground game effort in trying to win the state of New Hampshire, because I think that New Hampshire is going to go for Kamala Harris on election night. With the state of New Hampshire added to the 2024 electoral map, Kamala Harris is now up to 223 electoral votes. Donald Trump is at 311, and we only have one state remaining in our deep dive into the presidential election series. That will be the state of Maine. So please stay tuned for that one. That should be a very good video, and it'll be coming out very, very shortly. In the meantime, please enjoy this sneak peek at my full 2024 election night prediction, where I go over the poll closings and the state call. So far, there have not been many surprises yet on election night. Everything has gone pretty much how we expected it to. The 8 p.m. poll closings on the East Coast will be the first potential real test on if there will be any surprises and things will be shaken up. At 8 p.m., we have several states with their polls closing, including some very important key states which may have very important electoral significance. The states with poll closings right now are Alabama, Connecticut, Delaware, Washington, D.C., Florida, Illinois, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Mississippi, Missouri, New Hampshire, New Jersey, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and Tennessee. Let's take a look at the projections we can make at this time. The state of New Hampshire and its 4 electoral votes is being categorized as too close to call. New Hampshire, a swing state in 2016 and somewhat of a swing state in 2020, has not received much attention this cycle, as polling has showed Vice President Harris very likely to win the grand state and leading in the polls substantially, but we're still going to count the votes until we feel confident enough to make a call. Too close to call for now. That will do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to give it a like. And if you really liked it, please remember to click the subscribe button. And make sure you turn post notifications on so you always get notified when I post a new video. That way you never miss one. Also, please remember to share this video with your friends and family if you really like the video. And remember to stay tuned, because I'll be posting at least one video every single day leading up until election day, so I'd really appreciate it if you keep coming back and watching those videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in a future video.